friends. Welcome to the Creative Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Caldwell, and I'm so happy you're here. Each episode, I take some time to chat with fellow artists about life, faith, and the impact of the arts.
I had all of these plans and dreams, and I was like, God, why? And I even said this, I was like, God, why did you give me this passion to perform, to teach, to create, if I'm not going to do anything with it? And I was like, take this away from me. Like, if being at home with my kids full time, is what you want me to do, then take this passion from me. And he didn't, which is a good thing, because he wasn't done with that yet. But I heard it so clearly that he just said, this is a season, and this is a season that you need to be, I'm going to start crying, but there for your husband and for your kids.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. It would also be amazing if you would tell a friend about the show. I'm working on putting together a special Thanksgiving week episode, compiling answers to the question, why are you thankful for the arts? I would love to have you featured on the show. You can submit an audio clip through creativeimpactpodcast.com/thankful or email me your response this week. Today, I'm excited to announce the winner of our giveaway. Thank you to everyone who entered to win the Austin Stone worship album, Everflow. Drum roll, please. The winner is Katie. Congratulations, Katie. You'll receive an email from me this week with all the details. Today's episode is a beautiful conversation with Amanda Browning that is sure to leave you inspired. Amanda is a professional dancer, fitness coach, wife, and mother of 4. She is currently dancing with Phoenix Rising Dance Company based in Indianapolis, Indiana. We chat about Amanda's journey with dance, including her time at Belhaven University, her experiences dancing in multiple professional companies, and what it's looked like balancing her passion for dance with motherhood. After having her second child, Amanda found herself at a low point as she struggled with serious postpartum depression and a sense that her identity as a dancer was being stripped away. It was during this season that Amanda fell in love with fitness. Through developing the habit of daily movement, she felt more clarity, more confidence, and reduced stress. She eventually learned about fitness coaching and decided the only thing holding her back from becoming a coach herself was fear. Amanda decided to step out in courage and start her own virtual health and fitness business from home so she could help other women who may be walking through similar seasons. Through her story, you'll find encouragement and practical advice on what it looks like to invest in the season you're in and live in line with your values. Enjoy my conversation with Amanda Browning. Amanda, it's super exciting to have you with me today and get to catch up.
I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so just honored that you even asked me to share a little bit about my life and my story with you all.
Yeah, I'm so excited to hear and kind of hear your journey since we last saw each other. What years were you at Belhaven?
I was there from 2004 and 2008 as a student, and then I came back to teach a year after graduating. And I taught as an adjunct faculty, and then I also directed the dance ministry ensemble, which is where I had the privilege of meeting you and so many other just amazing dancers.
Yeah, that was so much fun. So I was wondering when you had graduated, because I came in, I guess, in the fall of 2008. So we probably just missed each other.
We did,
yeah, as students, but then it was so fun getting to be there with you as a teacher. And then also, dance ministry. That was super cool experience, and getting to, I'm trying to remember what year that would have been that you took over. Was that 2010 or 11?
It would have been the fall of 2009.
2009. Okay, that's right. Cool.
I think, yeah. So fall of 2009 to spring of 2010.
That's so neat. Yeah. Well, I definitely miss those days. That was a super fun part of life. And so did you live in Jackson after that as well, or did you move pretty quickly after?
We moved. So I went to Houston right after I graduated from Belhaven to dance with Audeum. And that was an amazing year. I learned so much from Randy Flynn, who I know you've had on the show. And just that year will always hold such precious memories in my life. But also during that year, I got engaged. But my husband's job was in Jackson. And so I was excited to get married, but I was so sad to leave Houston at the same time. But within that transition, God really opened up doors. And Cynthia Newland, who you've also had on your show, found out that I was moving back to Jackson. She said, you have to come back to Belhaven. And so she got me plugged in with teaching and also choreographing and leading. But then my husband's job was transferred. So we were in Jackson just for a year, and then we moved to Colorado.
Gotcha. Cool. That's so cool. Yeah, definitely Belhaven, I feel like, is a big family, and even Audeum, kind of just the dance network and the group of people that you get to know. And so super fun. Their paths are crossing again. I love it.
Yeah.
So it's been fun watching you also on social media and kind of following your journey. And you've been super inspirational, probably to so many people, but also to me, just watching your heart for, your kids and also fitness and kind of staying connected with the Lord. And I'm super excited to get into all of that stuff throughout our conversation.
Yeah.
So if you want to just share a little bit about yourself and kind of what you're up to right now, and then we can go back and talk through how you got there.
Sure. So I currently live in Fishers, Indiana, which is just outside of Indianapolis. So like a northeast suburb. And we love it here. We've not been here long. Actually, it'll be 2 years this fall. Gosh, it doesn't seem like we've been here that long. We've moved a lot with my husband's job, which is great for him because every time he gets a promotion or works his way up in the company, it requires a move.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we've been all over the place, which has been fun. It's been exciting, but it's also, as an artist and as a teacher, it's also presented a lot of challenges as well.
That would be challenging. Because usually especially with dance, it's kind of like you get invested in a community or a studio or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, it's very much network based, like who who knows your background, where you went to school, all the things. But at the same time, it has grown me in so many ways, always having to be almost my own advocate and always put myself out there to get connected and rooted in the dance community wherever I go, which has been important to me. Kind of, I don't want to say a lifeline, but definitely. As an artist, your art, it's your gift. It's what drives you. God has given me and other artists, this passion that is just like pounding through our veins. And so it's been an outlet and a resource for that to be demonstrated and worked through and explored and also be a blessing to others. And so, so we live in just outside of Indianapolis, and we have 4 kids. Our oldest is 7. She's in 2nd grade. And then we have a 1st grader. He is 6. And then we have an almost 3-year-old, and then our baby is not really a baby anymore. She is about to be 18 months old.
Oh, wow.
So 4
cool.
kids. Yeah.
Super fun. I love seeing pictures and stuff of your kids. So cool. So would love to kind of go back to the beginning of your story and hear how you got into dance and sort of what that journey looked like growing up.
Sure. So I grew up in Illinois, in kind of central Illinois. I think people think Illinois and you're like, Chicago. This is not Chicago. This is not Chicago. It was central Illinois, and just at a local ballet studio. And all I really knew was ballet. And I didn't even start until I was 9. And that was just like the 1 hour a week class. And it wasn't until I was like 13, 14 that I even started taking more than 1 hour a week.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
But I remember, you remember like looking at those older students, like the seniors that are so good and so talented. Yes. And wanting so badly to look like them, to move like them. They were so cool in my brain. And so I remember my teacher was like, you really need to start taking more than 1 hour a week. And so I did. And then I fell in love, and I had a lot of catching up to do. I had a lot of work to do, but I was very passionate, and dance was always very much my thing. No one else in my family danced. They knew nothing about dance. My parents were actually professional musicians, classical musicians, and music educators. So music was a very heavy part of my life and my upbringing. My mother, after our family had grown quite a bit, she realized she just needed to be home. And so she opened up a very, very great piano studio in our home. So I heard piano music all day long.
Oh, nice.
And so I know. She actually tried to teach me, and I just couldn't sit still. I didn't want to sit still on that piano bench. I wanted to move and dance. And, my dad would play for operas and symphonies and orchestras. And so even as a kids, we'd have those comp tickets, and we'd be sitting in the audience. And so in my head, I was always choreographing. Like I
Oh,
was always
cool.
creating movement in my head and listening to the music and just always creating, which I know that comes into later part of the interview.
Yeah, no worries.
So that was my upbringing. But dance was always my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like a very, very strong sense of identity in that.
Right.
So as we talked about before, I went to Belhaven University and I graduated with my BFA. And I came in as a total bunhead. Like
Mm-hmm.
I had a little bit of experience with modern dance, but not a ton. And then just fell in love with modern and realized like that was more my speed. That was more my niche, my passion, and certainly loved ballet and the training and the structure of ballet. But my heart was in modern dance for sure. So my senior year of college, Randy Flynn from Audeum came to set a work on us, and I was in his piece. And then from there, he asked me to come be with Audeum.
Oh, that's a neat, transition.
Yeah, it was. And I had honestly thought I'd always go to Chicago, like kind of near home. I know tremendous interest in New York City, probably just because it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like it was so big and maybe a little cutthroat. I just didn't see myself there, but yeah, so I left, graduated from Belhaven, and it's kind of funny. I was dating who's now my husband. At the time, we met our sophomore year in college and dated all the way through. Mm-hmm. In fact, Cynthia Newland pulled him into her office. She made him, this is so funny, I love Cynthia. She made him schedule an appointment, and he had to meet with her and like talk to her about his intentions in dating me. And she wanted to make sure that he understood like what it was like to be a dance major, what it was going to be like for me to be a dancer, just expectations.
Yeah, so, that's incredible.
I know. I will never forget that. And he's like, I can't believe I did that. But he did. That's
great. That's so funny. Yeah. I was talking when she was on the show, I was talking to her about that too, with, how I think that's super cool, how she was very, like kind of a mom to all of us and, looking out for us, and no matter how awkward it was probably for the people, but
yes. So I graduated, and I remember I told Jordan, my husband, would be my husband. I said, I'm leaving Jackson and I'm not coming back, because I said, I'm off to go do my thing. I'm off. Like, you're more than welcome to join me wherever I am, but I'm gone.
Nice.
and he let me go, which was awesome. He even, in fact, he helped me move to Houston and all the good things. But then he did propose. And of course my heart had to take back those words. And I came back to Jackson, but yeah, so I spent a great year in Houston, met incredible people, had obviously incredible training and experience with that, and then came back to Jackson and taught for a year and ran the dance ministry ensemble for a year, which was an amazing experience, something that was so new to me. I had never directed anything before. I had never been in that place of leadership before. So certainly new skills that I had to learn quickly, and everybody was super gracious and helpful. And yeah, I learned so much. From there, we moved to Colorado. We were in Denver.
Okay.
And I got a full contract from a company there, which was kind of a dream. Being a paid salary dancer was awesome. And from the outside on paper, it looked amazing, but it was a very difficult season in my life. Just really establishing who I was, and the fact that regardless of my dance, I have security in God, and that my identity is not in my ability to perform or execute that double pirouette or anything that I could possibly do on stage, but yet my identity is rooted in Christ. And so I had to learn a lot just about the mental warfare of being a performer and a dancer in a secular company.
Yeah.
Whereas prior to that, I had really been in the safety of always being in a faith-based atmosphere as far as, professional training and performing and stuff. Moving to a very secular company where I had to be so much more intentional about feeding my mind and my soul with truth.
Ooh, yeah.
So that was really good. But then I was only there for a season because my husband's job moved again.
Gotcha. But
in a way, it was a sweet release because I had a very graceful way to release be released from my contract.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved to Colorado Springs, which is about an hour south of Denver. And I started dancing for a company called Ormayo.
Okay.
And that was great. We had so many great choreographers that we got to work with, like from Cirque du Soleil or Cloudgate Dance Theater, just from Graham Company. Just, I had an amazing experience being exposed to so many choreographers.
Sounds super fun. Yeah.
It was so fun. It was so fun. And that's when we had our first child.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where my life shifted. And I think most moms will say that.
Yeah.
You know, they certainly have to make a shift in their career, just in their lifestyle with kids. Soon after baby number 1, 3 months later, we found out we were pregnant with baby number 2.
Wow. Yeah. So they're very close
They're
together.
really close. Big surprise. We found out right after that my husband's job was being moved again.
Gotcha.
So we were moving to southern Indiana, just outside of Louisville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And this, you know, you had one of my questions had been like, what do you find was like the lowest point of your career? And this was probably one of those dark moments because I was now juggling 2 small babies. We had just moved. I knew nobody.
Mm-hmm.
We were in kind of this little town outside of a big city. Again, I didn't know a soul. And again, I kind of felt like I had lost a part of me because I had gone from rehearsing all day. And on the days I wasn't rehearsing, I was teaching at a college and I was teaching all night. I mean, dance was woven into almost every moment of my day.
Yeah.
And then to go from that to being basically at home, you know, and my husband working crazy hours with a new job, I fell into this really had a really hard time with postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And I don't think I truly understood what that was until that season was very, very difficult for me. But that's when I fell in love with fitness.
Oh, cool.
So, and I still remember this moment, like to the day. It was like snowy in February. My husband was gone at work. He was like working just like 13-hour days. It was crazy. And I was home with 2 small babies and it was snowing outside. We couldn't go anywhere. And I thought, I'm going to lose it. Like, I'm going to lose it. It was like one of those days where I'd been in tears by 9 a.m. and I didn't feel like me. I didn't look like me. And I found these old Beachbody workout DVDs.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, they had to be so old. And I don't even know why we had them. Like, if they just been like a hand-me-down thing. But I found them and I was like, okay, here goes nothing. Let's just move. And so I popped them into my DVD player. I don't even know if people have DVD players anymore. And I did it. And it's not like it was all of a sudden this, you know, grand transformation, but I just felt like I had some clarity in my day, a little bit of structure in my day because I did something for myself. I mean, I think it was like 25 minutes, but during those 25 minutes, I was able to like release some steam, release some stress. You know, I felt just maybe a little more confident, maybe a little more powerful, even though I couldn't do much. My body was still pretty weak from just my postpartum journey.
Right.
But then I was like, okay, maybe I can do that again. And maybe I can do it again. And maybe I can do it again. And so slowly I found this passion for fitness. And so from there, that kind of led me into a route of teaching, getting involved in group fitness teaching, because heck, if I could teach dance, maybe I could teach group fitness.
Right.
And it seemed to be a really good fit for me. And so fast forward a few more years and a few more moves, we found ourselves in where we are now in Fishers. And it was so funny because we had moved so many times for my husband, and we just sat down one night and we were like, this is not working. Like, we're not able to put down roots. Our kids aren't able to put down roots. Like, we need to make a change. And we both felt it pretty strongly. And so we decided like this move is going to be our last for a while. So he actually left the company he was working with.
Okay, gotcha.
And branched out on his own. He has such an entrepreneurial heart. And I kind of quit everything that I was doing and we moved. And looking back now, I'm like, man, that was crazy. I can't believe I quit everything because I was teaching. I was like lined up to teach at a performing arts high school. My group fitness classes were going great. I was co-directing a company at the time. I was heavily involved with just some really fabulous dance schools and getting my feet back with performing and choreographing. But I was like, you know what, we need to do this for him. We need to do this for our family. And so we did. We upped and moved. maybe our last time. I don't know. My fingers are crossed. Who knows what God has in store for us. But so my plan was, okay, yes, we're moving. But now that I have all this free time, because I've quit all these things, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get my master's. That was my thought process, because I have been wanting to go back and get my master's for the longest time, but it just was never the right timing with kids and his job, and never really knowing where we were going to land.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the low residence program. I had it all figured out. I was starting to work on my paperwork. And then we found out we were pregnant with baby number 4.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And all those walls just came tumbling down. And I remember sitting on our couch, because we were in this little apartment because our house wasn't ready to move into yet. Mm-hmm. But we had to move quickly so my daughter could start kindergarten in her school. And so I'm sitting on this little couch, and I was just like crying, like ugly crying. Yeah. And what should have been, yes. And what should have been like these really happy tears, because, God has given us another blessing. Mm-hmm. And that's something that should be celebrated. But yet I was like, but my career, mm-hmm. I had all these like plans and dreams. And I was like, God, why? And I even said this, I was like, God, why did you give me this passion to perform, to teach, to create, if I'm not going to do anything with it? And I was like, take this away from me. Like, if being at home with my kids full time, is what you want me to do, then take this passion from me. And he didn't. Yeah, gotcha. Which is a good thing, because he wasn't done with that yet. But I heard it so clearly that he just said, like, this is a season, and this is a season that you need to be, I'm going to start crying, but there for your husband and for your kids.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I have to embrace that. And so we did. So for a year, I didn't pursue dance. I didn't teach. I didn't choreograph. Like, I really was just home with my kids.
Yeah.
But I still used that outlet of fitness that I had developed a love for as just a source of stress relief, mm-hmm. and a source of me time, for sure.
Yeah. It's nice to have a little bit of that, I'm sure.
Yes. Like I call it my mommy time. Uh-huh. And also I knew, as my pregnancy was progressing and, baby 4 was about to be born, I was really afraid that I would slip back into that really hard postpartum depression season I had gone through after baby number 2. And I was really worried that would happen again.
Could see how that would, be kind of scary going into potentially kind of a repeat season. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Because we were very much in the same place. Like I was at home. I didn't have my dance family around me. And we didn't even really have a church family, because we had just moved again. And I had, through taking some fitness classes just at a local gym, I had met this amazing woman, and she told me about this thing called fitness coaching. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, tell me a little bit more. And she's like, well, it's great. She said, you do it from home. Like, you don't have to find childcare. You do it on your own time and your free pockets of time. And she's like, and the best part is like, you hold yourself accountable,
right?
To keep not only your physical self healthy, but your mental health healthy. She's like, but then you just get to share that with others and bring people along on your journey and help them as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I don't have the time to create content. Like, I don't have the time to create workout videos, or even I was like, I've got little kids in diapers running around in the background. I can't be on a Zoom call all day with everybody, doing fitness across the screen. She's like, no. She's like, it's great. You partner with someone who's already done that. And I was like, well, what do you mean? She said, well, have you ever heard of the company called Beachbody? And I was like, Beachbody, hold on. I know those DVDs. I use those before. And if you know anything about the company, obviously it's progressed a lot since those little DVDs. And she said, but when you partner with them, they give you all the resources that you need. You just get to add to it and make it your own. And I was like, yeah, that's not me. Social media, advertising myself, sharing my journey. That's not me. Like, I'm a pretty private person.
Right.
So I was asking my husband about it again, who's got the entrepreneurial bug. And what do you think? And he said, well, do you miss working? I said, yes, I miss working. He said, well, do you miss fitness? Do you miss sharing your passion of fitness and movement with people? I said, yes, all the time. And he said, well, what's the one thing that's holding you back? I said, well, I'm afraid. I'm afraid what people would think. I'm afraid because it's like so outside of my comfort zone. It's not under that like dancer hat umbrella that I've been wearing forever, new skill set, newness. And I was like, and I'm afraid of failing. And he's like, you can't let that hold you back. And he said, if you don't try, you'll never know. So I said, all right, let's do it. Let's try it. And it has been the most rewarding experience to I guess wear that entrepreneurial hat and to see something that you grow from like this little tiny thing into what it is now. And it's so fun to see how God works, because I didn't know there was a pandemic coming. Right. Nobody knew that there was a pandemic coming. And the seeds that he planted in this small business that I had started really blossomed through the pandemic, because people needed a source of stress relief. They needed workouts that they could do, not in a gym or in a studio. They needed that extra layer of accountability and encouragement. And God knew that. So my husband lost a lot of work because of COVID. And so then I was able to help carry us through with my business that I had started. So it's just so fun to look back and see, that moment when I was crying on the couch and I was like, God, my career, what's happening? That he was using that season to help me develop all these new skills and this new business that would not only bless my family, help others just in this really wacky, weird, hard time that we're in.
Yeah, that's so incredible.
Yeah. So I know I'm talking a lot.
No, it's great. This is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
love seeing how it came about,
Yeah, it sure did. And then I guess it was about this time last year, I just had this like feeling like, man, I think I'm supposed to start dancing again. I think I would really like to pursue this. And so Jordan and I talked again and we're like, how do we make this work? How are we going to juggle all this, 4 kids and childcare and all this thing? I said, well, like, let me just go start taking class. Who knows if I can even dance anymore? I don't know if I can dance anymore. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Like, let me just see if it's even still in my body. And so I started taking classes, and through that I met dancers in Indianapolis and got invited to be part of a project, which turned into being part of a company member. And so I now dance for a company called Phoenix Rising Dance Company here in Indianapolis. And I love it. I love it. It's been great. And it's for them. Well, right now, because of COVID, we had a full season, which was canceled, but now we're just project-based, doing things when we can and spaces when we can because of the quarantine. But
right. Are y'all doing more like outdoor performance and things like that?
Yep. So we just did one on Friday.
Oh, really?
Last Friday.
Cool.
Yeah. And it was so fun. And I didn't really talk about this before, but prior to kind of quitting everything and making one last big move, and I'm sure you feel this way too, as a teacher and as an artist, and probably so many people listening can resonate with this, but you go through seasons where you just feel drained artistically, where you're giving and giving and giving and giving, which is great because you're getting paid to give.
Right. But it's like, what else is there? What can I come up with? Yeah.
That's your job. But at the same time, then you feel drained artistically. And I was getting to the point where I just felt sick of my own movement.
Interesting. Yeah.
I was choreographing so much, which I love to do. But then you just feel like you're regurgitating old phrases and movements.
Kind of the same thing. It feels like, recycled a little bit.
Yeah. And so now I just feel like I'm in this season where even though I'm not teaching dance other than like guest teaching and subbing every now and then, which is fun, or teaching at a dance intensive here and there, I'm just in this season where I get to like learn and learn
kind of be
movement styles and
poured back into.
Yes. So the company I dance for now, I mean, there's a very big Graham component to it, but there's also this really fun jazzy component to it.
Oh, neat. That sounds fun.
Which is a very new vocabulary for me. I feel like most of my training and performing has been very classical up until this point. So it's been fun to like, I don't know, express myself in a very jazzy way. So, yeah. So I like what you said. It's a season where I do feel like I'm being able in the world of dance being poured back into. And so that's been fun and refreshing and exciting for me.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. Yeah. Seasons where you're just choreographing a bunch and like giving. And I'm always impressed by people that's like what they do all the time. And I'm like, whoa. So it's great to find ways to feel remotivated and inspired. And yeah, super, super good. If you've been listening to the podcast, you've probably heard me mention the Root Collective. The Root Collective is a company that makes beautiful shoes and bags with a purpose. If you are getting a head start on your Christmas shopping this year, I would highly recommend supporting companies like the Root Collective who are doing good and making a positive impact on the world. Would handcrafted flats, boots, or a beautiful leather bag from the Root Collective work for someone on your list? The best part of this gift is that every purchase creates jobs for artisans who need them. You can join me in making a difference through our shopping this holiday season. To learn more about the story behind the Root Collective and check out their products, go to creativeimpactpodcast.com/RC. That's creativeimpactpodcast.com/RC, which stands for Root Collective. Now back to my conversation with Amanda. I know you talked about kind of choreography woven throughout that. I guess what would you say are some of your main like inspirations when you choreograph, or does it depend? I've asked a lot of people this actually, but it's fun hearing different responses.
Yeah. I think that's such a good question. And I do go back and forth, but for the most part, music inspires me. I usually start with music and then a story develops or a certain agenda develops in my head. Not always, but I think because of my background, I just, when I hear music, especially classical music, that story just unravels itself in my brain big time. In fact, my daughter, who also loves to dance and she's just so fun, will be listening to a piece of music, even just like in the car, and it could be like Kid Bops or like Vacation Bible School songs. It doesn't have to be like classical music at all, but she'll be like, Mom. And I'm like, oh yeah, what? I was kind of out of it. And she's like, were you making dances in your head again? And I was like, yeah, I was. I was choreographing in my head again. That's so sweet. Yeah. But classical music has always been a big passion of mine. And I love the rich history to it. Mm-hmm. But then also I really enjoy, maybe because it's a bigger challenge for me, to choreograph away from the music and then come back to the music. So create the movement and the storyline per se, or the motifs, that movement vocabulary independent of the music, and then find the music that enhances the movement even more to what I'm trying to say. Right. So that to me is a bigger challenge, but at the same time, maybe is more rewarding because it's harder for me. Right. Yeah. Growing through it. And yes, that seems like definitely a theme as well with the fitness journey. And I'm excited to get more into that as well. And I know you talked a lot about kind of motherhood and how that journey has impacted your dance life and career, but also, starting your own business and everything. And I was just curious if you have any tips or things that you found to be helpful, especially in those early years of motherhood, and how, because I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that are kind of in that season and just starting out. Any tips that you would have, or things, words of encouragement for them? I think the biggest thing that I've learned, and that I try to stress in women that I coach, is that it's okay to take care of yourself first, which I had a hard time with coming from a Christian background. And obviously that's my faith is woven into every part of my life. Right. That almost felt selfish. Yeah. I think there's kind of that sense, that. Yeah. Like I'm supposed to be humble, and which is good. Like we should be humble, but that I should come last. But in the world of motherhood, I have learned that when we're not taking good care of ourselves, that's going to filter into everything that we do as a mom, as a wife, and even into our work. And that doesn't mean you're saying like, okay, peace out, I'm gone all day, I'm at the spa. Right. Like I'm taking care of myself, check. But for me, I can tell you what it means for me. So for me, it means waking up before the rest of my household. And that means that I have to pour into myself through scripture, through a devotional, through that quiet time. That has to be a non-negotiable. And from there, then I get in daily movement, because not only does it help me feel physically strong and physically more equipped to do what I need to do for motherhood, whether that's just like picking up my kids without hurting my back, but it also gives me like all those like really healthy endorphins that help me be more patient and more kind and just help me juggle with all the unforeseens that could possibly happen during my day.
Right. The spilled, Cheerios or whatever.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Because, and if there are moms of multiples out there, like it is zone defense sometimes. So when I can take care of myself in the morning, first thing, and kind of fill up my own cup, then I feel like not only do I have more to pour out on everybody, I'm just in a better place mentally to juggle the zone defense, to juggle the little fires that have to be put out all day long. So, yeah. And some days it looks different. Some days my kids wake up early and they're jumping into the workouts with me, and they're seeing that fitness and health is a part of our life. And so I don't mind, that they're like running underneath me while I'm in plank, or, just trying to do it with me. Yeah. Yeah. I've invited them into that process as a learning tool, hopefully.
I'm sure it is for them. So. And I remember seeing, it was pretty recent, you had a post about like cleaning up while like being in plank, I was like, that's super creative. And it's fun seeing the ways that you found to integrate both motherhood and your job and fitness, and keeping yourself healthy too with that, which is super fun. So I love seeing those posts. It's like, it's definitely inspirational. And I'm not a mom at this point, but like taking notes. Super cool. Yeah. So I'd love to hear some of the journey of when you started your own business, some of the challenges maybe that you faced, and also some of the, I guess, challenges and joys. So both of those. And I know you mentioned a little bit already, but if you want to go a little bit more.
I think the biggest challenge for me was just my mindset.
Yeah.
That I knew that I wanted to do something, not only to give back, because I knew so many women who had struggled with postpartum depression, or just were really unhappy with their health journey, and they weren't where they wanted to be with their health journey. And because of that, it was like seeping into their confidence levels and how they just felt about themselves. And I was like, if I could help them walk through that, what I had struggled with so much, which was just postpartum depression and feeling so out of my body. Like I knew what my body could do and what it used to do, and not even what it used to look like, not even talking about what it looked like, but just how it felt.
Right. The feeling.
The feeling, and how that I think Satan uses those lies to tell us that we're defeated, or that we're not good enough, or that because our life looks different now than it did then, that we've done something wrong or made a wrong choice, or, that we're just not fulfilling our calling or being less than, which is so far from the truth. And because I had to learn that maybe the hard way, I wanted to provide a platform for women to learn that. And that meant that I had to be really vulnerable, and that I meant that I had to be more public about my own health journey, but also what I was providing as a business. And because I didn't have all these great marketing tools, and I didn't have like a massive, I didn't have any startup funds at all. The easiest way for me to do that was social media.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing in some ways, is it's free and it's like accessible.
Exactly. But that was really scary and unknown too, because I was never on social media. I didn't even have an Instagram account at the time. I knew nothing about the world of marketing on social media, or running a networked based business. So it was a big learning curve. And even though there are the perks of running a network marketing business on social media, there's also the downfalls. And one of those is comparison.
Ooh, yeah.
So, which is just a slippery slope in general with social media. So I had to be really careful, and I had to set up some pretty strict boundaries for myself about what I was going to do when I hopped on social media, to either to advertise or just share what was okay to share, what was okay not to share. just to protect myself, but also to protect my family.
Yeah.
Because they're very much part of my journey, and they're part of me being vulnerable and sharing my story, but yet they're my family, and I want to protect their identity and their autonomy and all those things. So those were some challenges that I had to learn along the way. But most of it was mindset. Most of it was just those lies of saying that, you're not good enough to do this. Who do you think you are? Like, you don't
voices,
know enough.
yeah.
You're not good enough. You're unqualified. All those lies that we give into sometimes. So that has been the hardest part. But the joys of it really have been walking women through their journey and hearing their successes and being part of their successes and their joys.
Yeah, getting to celebrate with them together. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And even though my business is not, I don't want to say it's not faith-based. I don't advertise it as being faith-based, but I do get to lead with my faith, and I enjoy that. So letting women know that, we are working towards goals right now. Like you have a fitness goal or you have a health goal, and we're working towards that, but know that that's not your identity.
Yeah.
Your identity is so much more than that. And your jean size or your ability to do a push-up does not make you who you are.
That's so good. Yeah.
Those are just ways to measure what you're working towards, but they're not you. They're not you. So, and also giving women a platform to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Is a passion of mine. And that's also been a joy of mine.
That's huge. Yeah. And it's huge having someone that can speak truth into your life when you're on a journey like that, or just in general. I think having the accountability is super helpful. And I'm sure it's helpful for them to have not only, like you said, kind of the physical accountability, but just with the mindset and keeping the right perspective along the way. Because I'm sure it's easy to get kind of sidetracked mentally and emotionally and all of that. And I love, at least for me, I've always loved being in kind of a group setting, like taking a dance class with other people or a fitness class with other people, because it does kind of give you a different sense of, community, and kind of pushes you a little bit further. So I can see how, especially right now and anytime really, having a coach or someone to be a part of like a group and a community can be super helpful even from home. I could see how that would be kind of a game changer for people.
Yeah. And and especially now, like with COVID and everything, where if women don't have that outlet, like, if they went to their favorite group fitness class or their favorite fitness studio, and that's no longer an option, then now there are more tools out there for them to take advantage of, to still get that community vibe, I like to call it, and accountability, but with the safety or the convenience of being at home. So that's really nice. And the cool thing is, it's just so fun to see how God works, because when I first started, I was like, okay, I'll coach. That's cool. I could do that. I was like, but I don't want to start a big business. I don't really see myself teaching other people how to do this business. But it's been so fun because other dancers from my past who are maybe in a similar situation, maybe their families have grown and they can't teach dance like they'd like to anymore, or because of the quarantine, like they're out of work right now. And so they've been like, okay, teach me how to do what you do. Like, I want to be able to work from home.
Yeah.
Or, like I want to be able to bring in an income for my family without having to leave the house, or being able to juggle the gig life. Because that's very, if you're listening to this, you know exactly what I mean, but jumping from job to job to job, living in your car, some days it feels like that, being able to make a side income while still supporting that gig life. So now what I'm doing a lot of is actually mentoring other baby coaches and how to build their own business in the business. So I do feel like I'm getting to pay it forward a little bit. And never thought I've never considered myself to be a leader in any aspect, but sometimes it's funny to look back and see how God keeps pushing me into those places
and even preparing you know, because I think about even, directing dance ministry ensemble all the way back then. It was like, you were a mentor in our lives and kind of in that role of leadership. So it's cool seeing kind of the threads throughout and how it comes around. Yeah. Full circle.
It is full circle. Most definitely.
That's super neat. And I was thinking about when you were talking about social media and just kind of the challenge of how to present yourself in a way that's true to who you are and, in line with what you believe. Yeah, just thinking about, so did you actually, when you were getting started, kind of write out maybe some like literal guidelines for yourself, or was it more just inside in your head? Like, I know this is my goal and these are my boundaries and stuff like that.
It was the process, and I found some really great tools to help me with it.
Oh, cool.
So there is a great company called She Works His Way.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that.
Oh, they're awesome. This is like free publicity for them. But it's a woman named Michelle Myers, and she has started a company for female entrepreneurs that are faith-based. Oh, and it's all about how really to keep your faith as the primary focus. So she goes faith, family, and then your business. Mm-hmm. And she has provided so many tools and so many resources that I have just gobbled up and soaked in, including like great resources, how to pray for your business. And one of those tools, and she offers ongoing like workshops and classes and things like that. But a lot of what she does is about presenting yourself on social media and how to kind of get your mind right before you even get on social media or before you post, and how to really just check yourself to make sure that what you're presenting is always in line with your faith, even though if it's not screaming the gospel, just to make sure that you're always presenting yourself, that all those underlying threads still point to Christ.
Yeah.
Not that it always has to be heavy like that. Like it can be like fun, showing stuff with your kids, but she certainly offered a lot of
filter type.
For sure.
Yeah. That sounds super helpful. I'll definitely have to look into it and, link to it and stuff. But sounds really cool. It's nice to have some sort of tools that you can use to work through that, because it is hard. It's hard to find a way to line up what you're doing and kind of have that integrity in it, and not get sidetracked into comparison and everything. That's definitely a big thing, I think, probably especially in the fitness world, I would imagine, because there's a lot out there on social media and a lot of kind of these like influencers and people that are doing stuff. So I think that'll be a super helpful tool for people and just something to think about and chew on for all of us, but especially if they're in kind of that realm of entrepreneurship and, promoting their own business. And even for me, I'm like, ooh, I need to look into that. For sure. Well, this is super awesome. I'd love to hear. I like to ask everyone, what is something that's on your heart right now that you want to share with other artists? Kind of if we were just in a conversation together and had that listener that's on the other end with us, what's something you may want to share with them?
Gosh, there's so many things, but I
know it's hard to narrow it down.
I know. I think just keeping in mind that there are seasons. And I know that everybody feels that right now, just with our current climate and the coronavirus and our school season starting to look so very, very different than anything we've ever known. And as artists, how that affects what we do, whether it was seasons being canceled or having to all of a sudden take our hands-on classes online, or for the company directors who are figuring out, oh my goodness, what do we do? Like we can't have the big performances like we're used to. But just keeping in mind that there are seasons and ultimately, like, as long as we are in step with God and really seeking His will for the gifts and the passions that He's given us, it will work out. It will work out. And I can say that confidently only because I've been on the other side of that, where I thought the extreme opposite, that I had to have all my ducks in a row and have everything figured out on this big, like, graphic grid chart in order for my life to make sense, in order for me to have progress, or that I had to like bust my butt, that being busy meant being successful. And so I've had to learn the hard way, like there is a season for everything. And especially if, because this is where I'm coming from, like motherhoods, also being artists, wanting to be fully present in the home, but also wanting to be in your art and be where so many passions have been developed and skills that have been fine-tuned. And how do those two things collide? And it just is seasons.
Yeah.
So offering encouragement that even though you may not be where you want to be, that doesn't mean that it can't ever be that way. Right. So that He who has started a good work in you, it's not finished yet. It might just be not right now.
Yeah. It's so easy to feel like even I think all of us can, like you said, it can feel it right now in this season with coronavirus and kind of like feeling that this is going to last forever, and really it won't. Like, it is a season. This will pass, right? So yeah, that's definitely a huge encouragement, I think, for everybody right now, and for all of us seeing kind of the waves and the seasons. And I love actually fall starting right now, and not that we're feeling it a whole lot right now in Texas, but hopefully by the time this comes out, we will be. So it'll probably be like late October, and feeling kind of the change of seasons and the shift of season. I think it's kind of a cool reminder that God puts around us all the time of that there is change and that a new season is coming. So yeah,
for sure.
So what is one of your favorite things right now?
There's a couple of things. Well, we were talking about seasons. So here in Indianapolis, I'm like looking out the window right now, and we're having this like strangely cool day.
Ooh, nice.
And it's just really nice. So this morning I took my workout outside, and it just felt amazing. Like just the cool breeze and the cool weather. So I'm excited about that. I'm like a scarf and boots kind of girl.
Yes.
You know, give me that pumpkin spice latte, please. I'm on that boat. I'm excited about that. From the home perspective, I'm excited. Our baby, the 16, almost 17-month-old is like, her words are just coming out a mile a minute. Aww. And so it's fun just to see what's happening in her little brain, but also how the other kids are reacting to it, you know, helping her learn new words and teaching her, you know, funny phrases. And
that probably is really fun to watch with siblings. Yeah. And how they interact and everything.
You know, of course, my son is like, "Hey, Faith, say fart," you know, and so not all of it's fun, but yes, yeah. So that's been fun. Like as a mom, it's been fun to see the family dynamic shift and grow a little bit with this new season.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Do y'all have any fun fall traditions that you like to do as a family?
I'm like a good pumpkin patch kind of girl. And it's been really fun because prior to our move to Indianapolis, my husband was always working like even weekends, holidays. So we never really got to do things as a family. But last year with our new transition was the first time we'd ever gotten to go like a pumpkin patch as a family. Aww. And, you know, do the corn maze as a family. So that's been really fun to have him part of kind of what was our family tradition before. Right. Yeah.
That's really fun. So. Yeah. And probably helpful when you have 4 little ones to have 2 adults present. I can imagine.
Very much so. Yeah.
It was a little less overwhelming maybe. But yeah. I remember one time we were helping with children's ministry, and it was like, we started off and there were 4 adults helping with, it was probably like around the 1-year-old, 1 to 1.5 like age range. And so they're really little and they're, you know, crawling, and maybe some of them are walking. And it was funny because at first we're like, okay, we've got this under control. We've got like, you know, 3-4 kids. And then it started to be like, we got up to 12 kids, and like trying to make sure they're all good and not, you know, eating stuff off the floor. And, but I can imagine with balancing 4 kids, that would be a lot of fun, but also like take some getting used to probably. So
yeah.
Although I'm sure it helps with different age ranges too, because they can kind of help out like the older ones. And yeah. Do you see that with your older kids, them helping with the young ones?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Because they're very much individuals themselves.
Right.
But we actually,
we
recently over the summer, my husband had to work, but I took the kids to go visit grandparents and cousins and aunts and uncles. And it was a hefty drive. It was like a 13-hour drive, but we split it up into 2 days because I didn't trust myself driving that long with 4 kids by myself. And I just knew that they would travel better if we split up 2 days. So each older kid had like a little travel buddy. So we looked a little bit like a circus, but I just like every rest stop or even just walking into the hotel where we stayed the night. So I had Faith, who's the youngest, she was in our stroller, and Gabby, my oldest, was in charge of the stroller. And then Bennett, my son, he's the second oldest. He had like our little roller carry-on bag, our overnight bag. And then I would hold Ivy, who's the third youngest.
Yeah.
So we like everybody had their travel buddy, and even rest stops, you know, like each big kid was in charge of a little kid, and
that's
so
awesome.
we made it work. And even like where they were situated in the minivan, each big kid had a little kid that they were Like they were their snack helper, or, if they dropped something, then they can help pick it up.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. So fun. I love that. Well, I would love to let people know kind of how they can connect with you, and especially if they're interested in kind of learning more about getting involved in that, the fitness community or coaching, things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Good ways to reach out.
So right now, probably the simplest way for people to find me is just through social media. So Facebook, I'm just Amanda Browning. And then on Instagram, my handle is at Amanda Browning Fitness, all one word.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. This has been awesome getting to reconnect. And I love getting to just hear more of your heart behind everything. And thank you again for inspiring me and inspiring all the people that are out there, even if they're just seeing little glimpses on social media. It really does make an impact. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure to be here.
I'm so grateful for Amanda and her heart for helping spread confidence and joy through movement. You can find links from the show in the full show notes on our website. Are you interested in supporting the show? Check out our Patreon community. Joining our Patreon community is an amazing way to support the podcast by monthly donations, and you get access to extra content that's only available for patrons. You can learn more at creativeimpactpodcast.com/Patreon. I'd love to have you join the community. Next week on the show, I chat with Lindsay Carlson. Lindsay is a pastor's wife, a mother of 5, and an author. She published her first book, Growing in Godliness, a teen girl's guide to maturing in Christ, with Crossway in 2019, and is currently writing a book for women about biblical encouragement. Thank you so much for listening to the Creative Impact Podcast. The music for the show was produced by Michael Cash. Don't forget to check out creativeimpactpodcast.com/thankful and let us know why you are grateful for the arts. I would love to have you join the conversation. Share the show with a friend, and I'll see you next week for my conversation with Lindsay Carlson.